Good morning, welcome to Morning Review. This is Kim speaking on Friday the 15th of July. So looking at euro dollar first, and yesterday we managed to end up marginally positively, although putting a shooting star into the pivot there and to the monthly pivot. Some really iffy bars, but we've seen quite a few of those of late. Not necessarily, particularly on the 4 hour hourly, sometimes we get decent reactions to these like shooting star bars. Yesterday morning, for example, say yesterday morning, it wasn't yesterday morning at all. That's the 12th. On the 12th there, you got a decent reaction to that. In fact, yesterday afternoon's bar, well, it shot up and pulled back down, but there was no continuation to that. So graveyard doji sort of bar. Anyway, it appears that it's still pushing up at the moment, and well, it's already gone through the daily pivot. The euro is putting in sort of higher lows if we run through. It never broke the lows yesterday and continued putting higher lows in. So if we can, there's probably a very light trend line that's probably running across here somewhere. So we can start pushing through that sort of level. I could be looking for the long side of the market. Alternatively, I guess there's always the other side, and there's a trend probably through the 34 moving average, which is sitting there a bit lower on these lows, so to be drawn on the lows, or maybe even more patiently sitting there on the 50. And if we was to see that, we may get a bigger move. However, we've always got to measure with the euro is the range of the market. It's already done 37 pips a day. It did do a bit more than that yesterday with that spike in around the time of the Bank of England data coming out, but for a large part of the day it was really let's just say 38 pips. It was barely any movement whatsoever. So unless something really big came out, I'd be surprised if we see any significant moves here. Okay, pound. Let's have a look at the bigger picture first. And the pound has, through the Asian session, run back in and finally hit the daily 21. I've been talking about this for ages. Having a reaction to it at the moment, and has pulled back from that. There's on the bigger picture, or 4 hour, you'd say, well, there's some sort of divergence in all of this move. Well, the RSI did drop down quite a long way, so I'm discounting that and looking at this as a new move up. However, this shorter term movement, well, it's double topped and we may get a bigger reaction there. Nothing in the way of divergence from it, but we have got the daily pivot below us, so if it continues to sell this morning, I will try and get into a short position back towards that daily pivot. So the 60-20s may just hold it up on its way on that route down towards that of course. Okay, to the upside though, well, a very sharp, steep looking trend line running across the top of these two bars here from over the last couple of 3 hours. Would look for probably a break of those back up towards the R1 potentially. Okay, let's a quick look at dollar yen. Dollar yen, my preference is to the upside. It has now though run into the daily 50. Okay, it's really ran through quite a lot of the key levels one would expect during the week. It's really, I mean, I'll come back to that daily picture. Actually, let's come back to a test page and make this a weekly page, and you can see in the week it's near enough recovered over 3 weeks of movement there in 1 week. So really has zoomed on. From where we sit at the moment, where it's already caught the daily pivot, caught the R1, it takes out some of the interesting points I'd be looking for, but it could push on as it did yesterday. It struggled into its R3 there, managed to close well below it. It could push on towards the R2 today. It again needs to break today's highs and may be a target up into that sort of region. Looking in Aussie dollar. Aussie dollar is sort of slightly creeping its way up at higher lows all the way through. I was looking at these lows yesterday as a potential breakdown point, and I would still look at, if we break this 4 hourly 21, I'd be looking more on the short side, but at the moment I'd rather be on the longer side, although having seen this Asian session move through the Australian session, Sydney session, I'm not interested in doing too much with this. It's had a good run up, recovered back from there to where it was in this sort of mode where it was, or trend, should I say. It could bounce back up there, but not interested in that personally. Canadian dollar. Well, the Canadian dollar's been making quite some recovery on the last 3 days. As I said, the price of oil's helped that, and a slight weakness in the US dollar. So there's a combination going on there. We are back towards these sort of key low areas. So you can see them on the 4-hourly here. It pitched through one yesterday afternoon. Just ran through it a little bit there, but managed to pull back in, but it's still got the potential of rolling over some more. Looking at a shorter time frame here, you can see in the background that this very light grey is the price of oil. It's very light grey line that's sort of zigzagging up and down. Oil's coming off a little bit at the moment, but so is the Canadian dollar, which generally they work quite well. They're quite well correlated, but slightly delaying. So I'd be wary a little bit about the Canadian dollar carrying on this route. It may just push up for a little while, but so I'm all the time watching what's happening with oil, and kind of coming back each time to look at any sort of increases. Now, actually, oil's actually edged itself way down here on the 4-hourlies, etc. So perhaps, well, in that case, really, unless the US dollar really softens, I would expect more of a push up in the Canadian dollar as opposed to this retracement we're seeing at the moment. I'd expect a bit more of a continuation to the upside. Maybe we'll see the break of the monthly pivot and it continue in that way, possibly up to that R1 area. Okay, that's it for me. News today, before I do that, news today, we've got some key news. We're currently speaking about 1 o'clock. The news up until then, there's some CPI data coming out in Europe. It's very weak data. All the individual countries are reported already, so the final data is pretty negligible. Carney speaking at 1 o'clock. Then after that, 1:30, we've got some CAD data, CAD CPI, inflation, etc. So you might get a bit of action from that. But aside of that, it may be quite a quiet day on the news front. That's it for me. Have a good one.